On September 17, 2024, at 5:15 p.m. Eastern, Tupperware Brands Corporation filed a Form 8K with the Securities and Exchange Commission. 2 paragraphs. Voluntary Chapter 11 Bankruptcy. United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Delaware. Total funded debt, $801.8 million. Cash on hand, $40 million. The company that once owned more shelf space in American kitchens than any plastic goods maker on earth. The company that Business Week in 1954 called the new factory in your living room could no longer pay its lenders. This is how a chemist in a Massachusetts garage and a divorced single mother from Detroit built a billion-dollar empire on suburban kitchen counters. How they destroyed each other in 1958. And how their company finally died in 2024 because nobody under 40 wanted to host a Tupperware party. Leominster, Massachusetts, 1938. A self-taught chemist named Earl Silas Tupper, former tree surgeon, Yankee tinkerer, founds the Tupperware Plastics Company in a converted garage. He has spent the Depression refining a black, foul-smelling industrial waste product from DuPont called polyethylene slag. Most chemists consider it useless. Tupper believes he can purify it into something nobody has ever made before. A clear, flexible, food-safe plastic. He works the slag for years, heating it, cooling it, filtering it, repressing it. By 1946, he has it. The first Wonderlier Bowl ships that year. Translucent pastel walls, gentle conical shape. A fluted base that nests into another Wonderlier of the next size up. The seal, a flexible lid inspired by the inverted rim of a paint can, is patented in 1947. You press the center, you burp the air out. The vacuum holds the lid fast. Refrigerator door tight. Nothing else in an American kitchen seals like it. You can drop a Wonderlier of soup into your handbag and it does not spill. Earl Tupper stocks the bowls in hardware stores. He waits. The bowls do not move. For 3 years, between 1946 and 1949, total Tupperware revenue across the national rollout is roughly $5 million. Disappointing for a product Tupper believed would change the way America stored food. The American consumer in 1948 does not understand what airtight plastic is or why she would want it. The bowls sit on shelves. The hardware store clerks do not demonstrate. Tupper, brilliant in the lab, has no idea how to market a product nobody has ever seen. Then, in Detroit in 1948, a 35-year-old divorced single mother named Brownie Wise walks into a department store. She is selling Stanley home products at in-home demonstrations to feed her son Jerry. She picks up a set of Tupperware bowls. She buys them. She takes them home. She falls in love, and she starts running her own home demonstrations under the name Patio Parties. Within a year, she is moving more Tupperware in Detroit than entire department store chains. Word travels. The Tupperware home office hears about a woman in Michigan selling their bowls at parties. Earl Tupper, sitting in Massachusetts watching his hardware store inventory rot, picks up the phone. 1951. Earl Tupper invites Brownie Wise to Florida. He makes her vice president of a brand new entity called Tupperware Home Parties Incorporated. On her recommendation, he does something no major American manufacturer has ever done. He pulls every Tupperware product off store shelves. Forever. From this moment forward, Tupperware can only be bought one way. At an in-home party, hosted by a saleswoman called a Tupperware Lady, run on a multi-level commission model where every sale generates a recruit and every recruit generates more parties. Wise is a born evangelist. She moves Tupperware home parties from Massachusetts to a 41-acre campus in Kissimmee, Florida. She invents the Jubilee, an annual sales convention with motivational speeches, prize cars, mink coats, diamond rings, and rituals borrowed from revivalist tent meetings. She tells the women on her stage, "I have faith in women." She tells them they will earn their own money. She tells them they will become somebody. It works. Within 5 years, there are 20,000 Tupperware ladies recruiting daughters and neighbors and bridge partners. Sales explode. A few $1,000,000 in 1950. $42 million in 1954. Tupperware becomes the second most recognized consumer brand in post-war America, after Coca-Cola. April 5, 1954, Brownie Wise becomes the first woman ever pictured on the cover of Businessweek. The headline above her photograph is the line from her speeches, "I have faith in women." Then, in 1958, Earl Tupper fires her. The fight is over a book. Wise has been writing a memoir about the company she built, the speeches, the jubilees, the army of women. Tupper does not want it published. He believes the publicity belongs to the brand, and the brand belongs to him. He sues to suppress the book. The lawsuit drags on. The board sides with Tupper. The lawsuit ends in a settlement. Tupper pays Brownie Wise approximately $30,000. No stock, no royalties, no equity in Tupperware Home Parties Incorporated, no share of the brand she had become. She receives no further income from Tupperware ever again. She is 50 years old. She is the most powerful woman in American direct sales. She has built a national movement, and in the company records, overnight, she becomes a footnote. The same year, 1958, Earl Tupper sells the entire company to Rexall Drug for $16 million. He divorces his wife. He renounces his United States citizenship. He buys an island in Costa Rica. He moves there. He never returns to the company he built. He never speaks publicly about the woman he fired. Brownie Wise dies in Kissimmee in 1992, having spent her last decades selling cosmetics and running a small pottery business. Earl Tupper dies in Costa Rica in 1983. Neither attends the other's funeral. Neither attends the company they invented. 1960 through 1990, Tupperware becomes a corporate division, first of Rexall Drug, then of Dart Industries, then of Primark International. Each parent company is bigger than the last. Each one treats Tupperware as a cash cow. Sales steady, margins healthy. The party plan still works because the women who founded it under Brownie Wise are still in the field, still running their own districts, still recruiting daughters and neighbors. Peak United States consultant count comes in 1975. Roughly 150,000 Tupperware Ladies, the largest direct sales force of women in American history. The Kissimmee campus runs around the clock. The Wonderlier Bowl, the original 1946 design, is still the best seller. The corporate parent does not innovate. It simply collects the dividend Brownie Wise built. But the women who were buying Tupperware in 1955 are now buying it in 1975, and their daughters are entering the workforce instead of staying home. The recruit pool dries from the bottom. The party demand dries from the top. Recruitment slows. The pyramid stops growing wide. The tree press calls it generational drag. Tupperware tries new product lines, lunch boxes, microwave containers, modular mates, the salt and pepper mill, the pitcher. Each launch gets a few good years and then plateaus. The corporate parent, Primark, sees the trend line and decides the asset is worth more sold than held. 1996, Primark International spins Tupperware off as an independent public company on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker TUP, headquarters, Kissimmee. The same 41 acres where Brownie Wise held her first jubilee. 1997. Rick Goings, a former Avon executive, becomes chief executive. Under Goings, the company internationalizes aggressively. He pushes the party plan into Indonesia, into Brazil, into India, markets where extended families still gather and where direct sales still scales. By 2010, roughly 90% of Tupperware's revenue is generated outside the United States. Peak revenue under Goings is 1997, $2.5 billion. Then a slow, grinding decline. The American consultant base bleeds year after year. The European base bleeds. By 2017, Tupperware is losing recruits in every Western market simultaneously, and the international growth is no longer enough to offset the domestic collapse. 2018, Rick Goings retires after 21 years. The board, restless and hounded by activist shareholders, replaces him with Patricia Steitzel. She is the first woman ever to run Tupperware in its 70-year history. She lasts 18 months. November 2019, she resigns. The board appoints Miguel Fernandez, a former Avenif executive, in April 2020. Fernandez arrives in the same week the pandemic locks down the United States. For a moment, the world rediscovers food storage. Lockdown consumers buy bowls from a brand their grandmothers trusted. Tupperware sales spike. 2020 revenue closes at $1.7 billion. 2021 holds. The stock, which had cratered to $2 in 2019, runs back to $30 on meme stock energy. Wall Street briefly calls it a turnaround. It is not a turnaround. It is a sugar high. The pandemic ends. The lockdown kitchens reopen. And the daughters who were buying bowls in April 2020 have no intention of hosting a party in April 2022. The pandemic rebound collapses. 2023 revenue falls to $268 million, down 40% year over year, down approximately 85% from the 1997 peak. April 2023. Tupperware delays its annual report and warns of substantial doubt regarding its ability to continue as a going concern. The stock, which had peaked at $98 in 2013, trades below 50 cents. Walmart agrees in 2022 to begin selling Tupperware in stores, a desperate reversal of the 70-year-old direct sales-only doctrine that Earl Tupper imposed in 1951. The retail experiment fails to recruit a single new generation of buyer. October 2023, Lori Ann Goldman replaces Miguel Fernandez as chief executive. She is the fourth chief executive in 5 years. She has 11 months on the job before the bankruptcy filing. September 17, 2024. Tupperware Brands Corporation and certain subsidiaries file voluntary Chapter 11 petitions in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Delaware. Total funded debt obligations at filing, approximately $811.8 million. Cash on hand, $40 million. The filing is contested from day one. A group of secured lenders, primarily distressed credit funds led by Stonehill Capital and Alden Global Capital, argue that Tupperware should be liquidated, not reorganized. The lenders hold the secured paper. They have the leverage. Tupperware's management, led by Lori Ann Goldman, argues the brand still has value and that an asset sale to a strategic buyer will preserve jobs and preserve the consultant network. The strategic buyer never appears. October 2024, Judge Brendan Shannon approves a contested sale process. The winning bidder is the same lender consortium that pushed for liquidation, Stonehill Capital and Alden Global Capital. The deal, approximately $23.5 million in cash, plus assumption of roughly $63.7 million in debt and assumed liabilities. The buyers form a new operating entity called Party Products LLC. They acquire the Tupperware brand name. They acquire the global website. They acquire the intellectual property. They do not acquire the people. The Kissimmee headquarters campus, the 41 acres where Brownie Wise held her jubilees, where the Wonderlier Bowl was made, is sold separately as real estate. United States manufacturing. What little remained is offshored. 4,500 United States consultants are terminated. The new owners pivot the brand to e-commerce and big box wholesale, the home party model that Brownie Wise invented in 1948, that Earl Tupper made the exclusive distribution channel in 1951, that built 150,000 careers at its peak, is abandoned. March 2025, the disclosure statement is filed. The liquidation trust for the legacy estate is confirmed by the court. Whatever is left of the old Tupperware Brands Corporation, its lawsuits, its tax claims, its small creditor obligations, is wound down inside the trust. The Party Products LLC name is quietly retired. The new owners begin trading under the marketing label, the Tupperware brand. The bowls are sold on Amazon. They are sold at Target. They are no longer demonstrated by a woman in a suburban living room. 78 years after Earl Tupper sold his first Wonderlier Bowl at a Massachusetts hardware store. 76 years after Brownie Wise hosted her first patio party in Detroit. 66 years after Earl Tupper fired her and moved to Costa Rica. 28 years after the spinoff. 27 years after the peak. The chemist who could not sell what he had invented. The single mother who sold it for him. The chief executive who let it slide. The activist board that fired him. The distressed credit funds that bought the carcass. Each played their part. Each carried a piece of the company toward the courtroom in Delaware. 150,000 American women at the peak had once been Tupperware ladies, each one running her own small business in her own living room, Each one a recruit and a recruiter. Each one, for a few years in the middle of the 20th century, an entrepreneur in a country that had not yet given women permission to be one. That movement is gone. The factory in your living room is gone. The new owners ship from a warehouse and post on Instagram. The party is over.